Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Kids Book Club Hangout with Lubaina, and we're super excited about this one because we have Vinitha Ramchandani who's going to take us through the art of storytelling and how to be a drama queen, and Ritu who's going to take us through
she's going to introduce us to two amazing graphic books. Because she's an art educator, so the book she picks are beautifully visual, and we're really looking forward to that.
Okay. Hi Ritu, hi Vinitha. Okay. Lubaina, so do you want to start off with...
Yes. I would love, first of all, to share with you all the books that are just out. So in case, you have kids that are 8 and up, there's some really cool books that are out, so I'm going to run through those quickly.
Okay.
So this is called Septopus, rather than an octopus, because it's about this very adorable octopus that has one tentacle that's not fully developed. And it's about how he finds other very amazing superpowers that help him to be, overcome all the bullying and stuff that happens because he's not an octopus and a septopus instead. I very much recommend it for kids of over 8. Very funny. I mean, okay, so let me ask you, Mansi.
Okay.
So this octopus is called Ire.
Okay.
Another octopus is called Poet.
Okay.
Add an 8 to it.
Irritate.
Irritate.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's full of these silly little puns.
Okay.
So this other octopus is called Poet. So
Poet.
So he's a poet and he keeps writing poetry all over the place.
Okay.
So it's full of puns and it's very clever writing, which I would highly recommend rather than, sort of dumbed down writing. It's very fun. It's intelligent, basically.
Okay. I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. Butterfingers is this very lovable chap who's sort of been around for a very long time. And Clean Bowl Butterfingers by Kerunisa is the third novel in the series. It's about this boy called Amar who keeps dropping things and, everywhere he goes, he spreads mayhem in his wake. But he's a very good-hearted guy and invariably solves all the problems. And if kids love sports, invariably this is a great book to yeah. This one is really cool. Okay, this one's called The Case Files of P.I. Poto. And it's about this private investigator, a young chap, and it's also a school mystery. So a school detective bound to, something that kids like, and very smooth detective. So I didn't know whether I liked him or I hated him, but I couldn't put the book down. Okay. A really good book about how this kid solves the mystery of the school cat how it died. Yeah?
Right.
Okay, now I want to give you one non-fiction. For children who like biographies, there's this biography series by and this is a really cool biography because it's part graphic novel and part information. And this one's on Sachin Tendulkar, and this is the first in the series. And it's really fun, and my kid just zipped through this. She really enjoyed. I mean, children really do like reading about personalities, and this is a great introduction to Sachin Tendulkar. Yeah, this one.
So all of these books, Lubaina, start at 8 or could be younger?
8 and up, I would say, depending on the reading level.
Okay.
I think 7 would be an exceptionally sort of prolific reader, but 8 and up really is fine.
Are these books that parents can read if the kids are not such prolific readers?
So this would be a self-reading book.
Okay.
This would be self-reading.
Okay.
This can be read aloud. In fact, it would be great fun. I think, Vinitha, you would enjoy weaving stories out of this one because it's full of puns and those cute little things, a lot of action words in it. So a good book to read aloud. Great book to read with your kids. I mean, flipping pages. You don't have to read it at one go. Pick interesting nuggets of information. Good stuff, basically. Okay, I really want to share with you 2 books that are out internationally. I haven't been able to get hard copies of them, only Kindle editions. This one's called The Curious World of Calpurnia Tate.
Okay.
Very lovely book about this young girl who her mom is trying. This is in the 1900s, and her mom is teaching her how to be a good debutante and how to cook and sew and everything. But she has this strong inclination for science, and her grandfather recognizes it. And he's a vet, so he's sort of introducing her to science and nature and everything. And middle school series is great for boys. That's a terrible thing to say. Girls love it too.
Mm-hmm.
This is about the middle school adventures of, Rolf. In lots of fun, lots of trauma, things that kids go through in middle school. Very fun, basically.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the international books I have. I wanted to see if Ritu could share her 2 books with us.
Yeah.
There is somebody
Hi,
I
can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Hi.
Yeah.
Go on.
Go ahead. Show us your beautiful books.
Fading away on my screen, so I don't know. Okay, so the 2 books that I have chosen, can you see that? One is Moonshot,
Okay.
Beautiful.
and other is Locomotive. And both of these books are by the same author, Brian Flocker. The reason why I chose these is I've been eyeing these books for a while, but they're very expensive. But somehow, sometimes you get a deal on Amazon and you can grab that at like a really low price. The way I look at my books is, being an art educator, I always think when you look at the book and the illustration, this should speak to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm clear, and I'll just flip through, and this is a book on locomotive. And when I picked it up and I thought, how can a book on locomotive be very exciting for children? But it's amazing how when you flip through the pages, there are stories that keep flowing, and it takes you through the entire journey of the first railway track in the US.
Oh.
And so not only is there geography in it, there's history in it, but also, when you look at an illustration, you can weave in your own story and figure out what is happening there. And for me, that is very important. How does an image talk to you? How expressive is the illustration? And that's what I look for. So even if, and very often I'm asked what age group, and I feel that a picture book is for 2 onwards, 2 and 100 plus. Even adults can read it, and even children can enjoy it. There is a lot of text in it, but if you just look at the images for young children, just think of how and what all they can see in it, and that's how I look at a book. Okay. You can also read it aloud because it's like really phonetic and it goes chuk chuk chuk, and you have the whole thing of steam engine shooting. So that's on this one. And a similar thing which is really interesting is the moonshot. Okay, and in moonshot again, it's a very complicated concept of landing on the moon and how does the spacecraft works.
Wow.
But again, just the illustration itself is enough for a child to know what really happens.
Wow.
How do you land?
Right.
And the excitement that kind of is woven in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, what's interesting is to see not the technical part of it, but it's very poetic. It takes you to the space, but it leaves you thinking the universe is so vast. And what else? So that whole curious mind kind of gets ignited when you're looking at images like that to figure out more about the universe. And the fact that you can be on the moon and the way people are walking. So, the words are very simple. I don't know if you would want me to read out. It's very simple, yeah. They talk about a team then. Can you see that?
Yes.
Who clothe themselves in special clothes. Who click, lock hands in heavy gloves. Who, again, click, lock heads in large round helmets. And that's how the whole story flows. So I find that very amazing, one, the style of writing, but more than that, just the illustrations. They're simply beautiful.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ritu. This is, can you tell us the names of the books and the author again, please?
Absolutely. So this is called Moonshot.
By
both are by the same author, and this is called Locomotive. It's by Brian Flocker.
Okay.
And this is on Amazon. And I think right now they're available for 450, if I'm not mistaken. So
What are you saying? I'm just going to go on that now.
Okay. We have Shraddha with us, who's a reader, and she would
Thanks,
like to
Ritu.
ask a question. So, Shraddha, do you want to ask us a question?
Uh,
Yeah, go on, Shraddha. I think you need to unmute yourself.
uh, shall we move on and then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hi, Lubaina, this is Shraddha.
Hi. How
I
are you?
had two questions for you.
Mhm.
One, my son loves reading,
Yeah.
and right now he's completely into, the globe, the atlas, different countries. So,
Mm.
if you have any books to recommend for that, one of his hot favorites is, Search for the Seven Sisters. It's a
Yeah.
timeline book.
Yeah, that's a lovely one. How old is he?
He's 6.5.
Okay. Wow. There's loads of books, Actually, what we'll do is maybe you might want to email us at
Yeah.
info@kidstoppress.
All right.
I'll send you a book list, but in the meantime, uh, this incidentally is a very fun book called Razia and the Pink Elephant.
Okay.
It is not ostensibly anything about geography or things, but it is a very adorable book about this old man writing about Razia and her pink elephant. But in the process of writing about the pink elephant, uh, various creatures travel all over the world. From
Okay, that's
Burma to
interesting.
Australia to New Zealand to and it's a very adorable book.
Okay.
You will have to read it aloud to him because it's not very much a I think it's 7 and up basically, unless but it is great fun. And then this last time, Paranita suggested this water stories from around the world.
Okay.
And that's very lovely because every time you do a story from there, you can take him to an atlas and explore a country that the water story
Correct.
is from. But there are many more, and I'd love to send you a book list.
So
So
I'll definitely write into Kids Top Press and maybe wait for your feedback.
sure,
Vinitha, Ritu, do you all have any books you
Yeah.
want
No,
yes,
just even this locomotive Shraddha, no? If you go
Yeah.
through that, the
Okay.
first page of it, it takes you through the whole geography of from where it started in Nebraska and ended in California. And at
Okay.
stage, it stop. I mean, they'll give you an indication of the stop. So the various stops, which are there till they reach the destination. So that's also very interesting
yeah.
that you can
Okay.
discover through, book like this. As I said, there is
Definitely,
history, there's geography, and of course, story totally woven into this.
Okay.
All right. I'll definitely try it. Lubaina, just one thing. If you could give me the author of Razia and the Pink Elephant.
Yes, it's Mukul Dubey.
All right.
It's a katha book.
Okay. And one more question for you, Lubaina. There are some children, like we always start off with reading to our kids and then they move on to reading. Now, there are some kids, who are so used to mums reading to them that even though they can read, they find it very boring to read on their own, to go through the whole book.
Yeah.
So, do you have any recommendations to help such kids?
Yeah, the thing is, you can first of all make them read books that are much below their level,
Okay.
even though they are far ahead, and get them to read to you and say, hey, today you read me a story.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll start reading it, and what happens in a story is eventually, if they really get into a book, your reading will become too slow for them.
Yeah.
They'll
Okay.
Yeah.
they'll want to get into the story and figure it out. At some point, they'll stop reading to you and start reading to themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
I want to
Thanks so
add to that
Yeah, Vinitha.
also that a lot of time children find that this is the only time they get with their mom or their dad, and
Yeah.
they're probably wanting that time again, not because they don't want to read on their own. It's because they have that time, special time with their parent, which is undiluted. So they would want that time again. That's the whole. It's a call for that also, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think one thing I just like to add is that sometimes I completely agree with you because my daughter's also going through that stage. But like Lubaina said, one, give them books below their level because it's a great ego boost. And second is we try this alternate page therapy thing. Okay, so you read one page, I read one page. So what happens is sometimes they get tired of reading everything and then they can't reach the suspense much faster.
Correct.
So that kind of pushes them that okay, you read just easier.
Yeah.
So maybe you read one page, I read one page, works well with us.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
Thanks, Mansi. I'll definitely try that out.
Thanks, Shraddha.
Thanks, Shraddha.
Thanks, Lubaina, and thanks, Vinitha and Ritu.
Thank
See you
you.
soon again. Bye. Okay. Really quick, I wanted to do some recommendations for children, that books from ages 3 to say 4. Want to introduce you to one of my absolute favorite picture book authors, Emily Gravett. I met her one time at this Jumpstart, and Mansi, she says, I'm not an author, I'm not an illustrator, I'm a bookmaker.
Okay.
And literally all her books are like, works of art. I mean, they're so beautiful. So there's this book called Wolves.
Right.
Yeah. And so in Wolves, it's like a whole library setting. So it's about a rabbit that goes to the library to find different wolves. And here, this is the rabbit. And he goes, and there's a whole little library page and everything. So there's a little library card and everything.
You need to hold that. I'm going to hold it closer so you guys can see that better.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Right. And it's so fun because at some point, the rabbit who's reading the book gets into the book and the wolf gets out of the book. So the wolf is out, and then eventually the rabbit and the book both become one. And of course, you know what happens to the bichara rabbit. Yeah, he reaches right on top, and that's, well, what happens to the book and the rabbit. And it's so cute because she says for the more sensitive reader, she has another ending. She says the wolf is a vegetarian, and then they became friends and lived happy ever after. So she said it somewhere, and it's so beautiful, there are these letters and things to the library and all. So Emily Gravett has books for children even 1 to 5, I would say. There's Monkey and Me, Bear, Pear, I don't remember that, but they're all very lovely visual books, highly recommended. This one is a very lovely introduction to a science, basically. It's called How to Weigh an Elephant by Geeta Dharmarajan, and it introduces you to one of the earliest women scientists in India. Okay, so she was this young girl, and the king tells her to figure out how to weigh an elephant. And then they figure out how to do it. So there's a little bit of math in it, a little bit of history in it, gorgeous illustrations, So highly recommended. And one last book that I absolutely, oh yes, sorry. I really think that we should read more Hindi to our children. So this one is called, the English one is Dinosaur 127 children long. This one is Dinosaur 127 Bachcho Jitna Lamba. It's a very adorable story of a cute dinosaur who wants to give people a ride. And so there's a little bit of math in this as well, estimation, on how long this dinosaur is. And I think that if we read these Hindi books to our children right from the beginning, I'm hoping at least my kids will do better in Hindi in school. So, because then they hear the words, and are familiar with the grammar and everything. So I would really recommend this one. And Mansi, I'm going to need your help for this.
Okay.
My very favorite book, I don't know where my copy is. Ritu, do you know if there's a discount on this on Amazon?
But this one's a really cool 2D book, right?
Yeah, this is your regular book. But it almost acts like a 3D interactive kind of box of circles. So you start, Mansi. Press here.
Okay.
Okay. So page 2. Okay. Press here. And whoa, look what happened. There, well done. Now just tilt the page to the left and see what happens. Interesting. Now try pressing all the yellow dots. Okay. Hey, what happened? Someone turned the lights out. So now you press the yellow dots here. Wow, pretty, isn't it? Now, Mansi, just blow on this so we can blow the black away. Oops, that might have been a little too much. So all those circles have gone. So I really love this book because the children can really sort of interact with this, and it's almost 3D, like pressing buttons, moving the book, literally feeling the 3D sort of sense that the circles have moving across the page. And I think children, as you said, 200 are going to love this. And I mean, I'm really old, but I'm a child, so I love it.
Vinitha, I have a question for you, which is going to be that, here we're talking about all of these books, but a lot of parents write into us and tell us that, they say, we are excited to read to my kids. They say, oh, I'm sleepy, I don't want to read. So there are two kinds of children, right? So one who are obviously very pro books and they love reading, and the others which are, trying to escape reading, and every time you want to tell them something, they want to skip it. So how do you, I mean, I'm sure in your storytelling sessions all that happens. So how do you address that?
Reading to a child is actually it's a two-way process. It's just you and the story. But when you're storytelling, there are three elements, and it's really a triangle. It's you, the storyteller, you and the child or the audience, and the third element is the story. So you're constantly in touch with all three.
Okay.
And that's why storytelling is so wonderful, because you're connecting with who you're reading it to. And when I go for a storytelling session, I read my story very well, and then I leave it. It's about being flexible. It's about connecting with who's listening to your story and moving and maneuvering your story around the person, and therefore it gets very, very interactive. It's about stretching, it's about engaging. It's not about the story. The story is something that's malleable, that's stretchable, that's flexible. It's a child and the mood of the child or the mood of the person listening that you are in touch with. And it's such a three-way process. It's beautiful. That's why it's fun. I find I've never ever read to my children. I've always told them a story.
Okay.
And every time the story I tell them is the same story, but it's different.
Okay.
So give us an example.
Yeah.
So one of my most challenging things to do was to tell a story about a tree, because I want to get children to be in touch with nature. And trees are so boring because children don't see the beauty of a tree actually. Yeah. So I'd start a session saying, what are you reading right now? Are you reading something? And invariably there'll be some child who will say, fairy tales and monsters. And if they're boys, they'll say monsters. And then say, do you know, I know a giant right now, right here, standing right in front of you all. Do you know who this big giant is? And they'd say, no way. So you connect that way. Yeah. And I'd say, the biggest living, and he's living, and he's right here. And, there are trees everywhere, and I tell him, that's your living giant, because, he can breathe, he can live, he can talk, and he has things on him. And I start my story like that, because then I've connected. And then they say, oh yeah. And I say, have you seen, what is the biggest giant you've seen? And, and then we try to imagine it. So if you as a storyteller can't imagine it, then it's very difficult for the child to also connect with that child. So as you read a story, you need to imagine your story for yourself, because how I see the story is not going to be how you see the story or the third person sees the story. But if we're all seeing it together in different ways, and then tell the story, it becomes it's such an interactive process. Mm-hmm. I invariably end my story by showing my book, and at the end of it, we all look at the story inside it, and see how the author or the illustrators imagined that story, and then we swap notes about that, and then it continues to be interactive.
Right. Do you have any recommendations for really fun read aloud books?
I think there's a whole list of them, and I can't.
Yeah. That's a tough one, I know, but off the top of your head, can you think of anything that, or even a story, maybe not necessarily a book, but a story that you think really is fun to tell because it's visual, it's got, words you can use or stuff like that,
I usually, I would say the Little Pepper story by Anushka.
Yeah.
That's one story.
Going to
the market, because that's another book. I mean, I think I love all Anushka's stories because they just, you think they're leading you somewhere and they lead you somewhere else, and it's constantly growing on you, you know, and it really involves you as a reader. So I would say any of her books are great stories to read aloud, you know.
Okay, so this is for those who may not have come across. This is Anushka Ravi Shankar, and the books being referred to are the Runaway Peppercorn, and the others are. I love that one, Tiger in a Tree.
Tiger in the Tree, absolutely.
Excuse Me, Is This India? So these are some of the books that could be, I think, fun to do. I think that's lovely. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. Does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask us? Or any input, you know?
Any concluding lines?
Yes.
That would need to keep it.
And anything that you feel, you know, you would like to know in our next show, we'd love to.
Just leave that in the comments below, and we will make sure that it's right on the show the next time around. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us here. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Great job. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.